All right, guys. Well, good afternoon and happy Friday to everybody. I want to say happy Friday from Chris and I, and we are in it again, Chris, for another FitNad live stream, guys. And we've got another great topic for you guys today. As Chris and I were talking throughout the week, and we were trying to come up with topics, obviously, because it's a lot easier said than done. I'm sure you would agree, Chris. A lot of times, I think folks think that oh, it's another week, another topic, and it's that simple. But sometimes, man, you start to have to dig into your bag to really figure out what's going to be something interesting that we can actually cover. And I think the way that we come up with our topics, at least I know that I do, is that I try to really figure out what I personally am interested in when it comes to gym and health and fitness. I try to ask myself the same questions. I try to answer the same questions I ask myself, rather. So today Chris and I are going to be going over the differences and risk and benefits between cable, machine, and free weight resistance training. So we want to be able to cover that from a beginner's perspective, all the way up into some advanced stuff if we want to get into that as the stream goes on. But we want to make sure that we're kind of weighing the pros and cons to each. And I don't know, maybe by the end of it, we can, give our personal opinion as to what we think is best or what we enjoy doing more. But that's really what we want to cover today, Chris. How you been? How you been doing, man?
Just staying slim, dude.
I hear you.
Um, yeah, Ops is a mess. I don't have my laptop on hand today. Brittany's doing a research paper with it. Another one's not
Gotcha.
working right now. So
Gotcha.
we'll be kind of going off your research. It won't even let me view the chat at the same time. If I pull the chat up, I can't view the screen. So
That's weird.
way to go, StreamYard.
Well,
Yes.
it wouldn't be a Fit Dad's live stream without some technical difficulty, right? Isn't that what we live by?
It seems like before I was able to view the chat and see the screen at the same time, but yeah, man, just dealing with a 3-year-old.
I hear you, man. Well, it's getting that time of year where the holidays are rolling in. So, yeah, 3 years old, 3-year-old in the house running around. That's very rambunctious. And but the good part is it's fantastic age for Christmas, man. As they get into the 3, 4, 5, and 6, it's uh, it's a magical time of year, man.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it.
Absolutely. Yeah,
It'll be
it's gonna
gone in no time.
Yeah, man. It just, the days go by so much. It feels like they go by so much more quickly, and then the time just flies. And here we are at the end of this year already, about to start in 2023. So who knew? But here we are. But anyhow, just not to get into too much rambling. Now let's get right into this, man. So, Chris, when we were talking, we just talked briefly about this topic. So, which is, I think, a good thing for this week because I really want to hear your perspective as well. And what we're going to be covering is, once again, more anecdotal stuff. If you want to get into the heavy research, um, that's for another time, another stream. What I wanted to do today is just talk to everybody plainly and just kind of give our experience between the three resistance types of training and go over pros and cons of them. So right out of the gates, I'm just going to say that for me personally, I personally enjoy and think I get the best benefits from free weights. That's me personally. And so I'm not saying that that's what is the best. I'm saying that's what I tend to like and drawn to personally. I like the other two resistance types. So, Chris, do you have an opinion on that?
Um, so when I first started, I was really leery of any type of machines, because I didn't want them taking stabilizer muscles out of the movement.
Yeah.
But over time, I kind of worked in. I would use the machines more as accessory movements. So I mean, every tool there's a tool for every task, basically. So um, definitely prefer to do free weights for the main. Say I'm doing a chest day, then I would do like a bench press with a slight incline with either dumbbells or barbell, and then I would superset with a machine or something like a cable machine. Usually on the last two sets, just to kind of fill the pectorals with blood, and kind of same thing with triceps on the pull downs. Like there's some there's some movements that you can really target with a cable machine, especially if you can move your cable up and down.
Yeah.
So, I mean, over time, I've become more accepting of using a machine for the proper movement. I don't like Planet Fitness for the same reason. You know, they don't really have any free weights. Everything is
Yeah.
secured somewhat to the so the Smith machine. The weights are secured so that you don't have to balance. And I think you need to develop balance.
I agree. I agree. So, that's what I want to do is, like I say, first of all, we're going to, get our opinions on what we enjoy most. And then second, I want to kind of break this down into sections, just like we're going to talk about cable, we're going to talk about machine, we're going to talk about free, and just kind of weigh the risk and benefits of both and go over pros and cons. So just right out of the gates, let's just start with machines since you were kind of, touching on that in the first place. Machines. So from my experience in the gym, guys, so if you are just getting started or intermediate or advanced level, this is going to be something that everyone can understand and it's going to be helpful. So from my experience on the machines, um, it does, as Chris, as you stated, it isolates a movement and restricts that movement very strictly in a single plane, right? It doesn't allow you to move or budge from a particular movement as far as form is concerned. So that to me is the benefit of that is that you don't run the risk of injury as much. And that's just my opinion. You don't run the risk of injury as much because you're not going to get into a situation where you are falling out of form quite as easily than if you were to do with free weight or cable. So machine weights are often used is if you haven't don't know about this or haven't been in a PT type of situation, they're often used in physical therapy and people trying to rehabilitate injuries or recover from surgeries and whatnot to try to re-strengthen the muscle or a joint that has been injured or worked on. So that to me is a big pro of the machine weight. Chris, would you agree or do you have anything to add to that as far as machines are concerned?
Oh, definitely. Like if you're trying to target the primary muscle group for whatever bone or ligament or whatever was damaged, then the machine will take all the rest of the, factors out of it, so to speak. It'll take the
Right.
other muscles out of the movement.
Absolutely. It'll basically it'll restrict you down to exactly what movement you're supposed to be doing. Now, of course, if you have to really try it and you can screw it up and still injure yourself. I'm not saying that you get on a machine and you can just go nuts and you don't have to worry about injury. What I'm saying is that if you get on a machine and for the most part, it's going to restrict your movement to that singular motion and you're going to get it done in perfect form or at least rather very good form and you can't really deviate from it. The machine won't let you. You'll be stuck in that plane. But the cons to the machines, what do you think, Chris? What are your cons? Like, what do you not like? What do you dislike about the machines?
Well, I wanted to mention one more thing though about the physical therapy or
Yeah.
trying to repair.
Okay.
Because for example, I had a muscle imbalance, which isn't as bad. Well, I kind of had a what do they call it when your rotator cuffs out of shoulder impingement. So I had
Oh
that,
yeah.
and then the front part of my shoulder was trying to overcompensate for the back, so all my muscles were seized up. So I had to work with a chiropractor for over a year for that, and
Wow.
I had to target my rear delts a whole lot to finally get that in balance. I don't even know if it's right by now, but anyway, so the machine will kind of help because if you're doing a movement, even if you've got damage to a ligament or a muscle that you don't even know about, really, like you can feel something's wrong, but
Yeah.
you don't know what it is. Your other muscles will take over and try to like make up the difference for that damaged muscle, and then they'll become,
Yeah.
they'll develop a muscle imbalance. So that's why the machine or cable movement, basically something that targets that primary muscle, usually with a lighter weight, will kind of
Mm-hmm.
help help prevent that. muscle and balance
Absolutely.
development. But to
So
your other
that
question,
again, go
go
ahead.
ahead.
No, I was going to say again that that's just another good reason why Chris, I do like machines a lot. I do. I did say in the beginning that free weights are my favorite, but that just simply means they're my favorite. I enjoy machine weights. It allows for a very isolated type of movement, and I can really I can more safely in some senses overload on a machine more than I can with free weight, more than I'm willing to do, I should say, with free weight. Do you find the same thing? So if if you're wanting to overload a muscle, do you do it on a machine or no?
Yeah, definitely. For incline, for example, that's usually because our incline bench at my local gym, we've only got one, and the incline's way too sharp. But you can adjust the one under
Hmm.
the Smith machine. So I'll do a pretty heavy incline. Like I would say, an incline I could barely get a maybe 185, 195 up on flat bench, but on the Smith I can put two plates on there easy and just get a 3 or 4 or 5 reps, something like that. I hardly
Very
do it
nice.
when we're at max, really.
No, no, I don't either. I don't either. Man, Chris showing out 225. That's nice, man. That's nice.
Well, it's
So
less on the machine, isn't it? Because the some bars weigh like 20 and some are like zero, a
yeah,
doubt or something. I think the one at our gym is maybe 5 or 10 pounds or something. It's not much. I mean,
there's
you can
always going to
feel a
be a
little
small deviation.
resistance,
Yeah,
but I mean, it's still with the weight locked in place, and like you said, you're only working from point A to point B,
yeah,
so it's a lot easier to focus on just moving the weight from point A to point B rather
I
than
agree.
having to keep it balanced and everything else. But
Well,
I
that's
would
exactly
definitely
what you
recommend that only as an accessory or a secondary movement
So
because
that'd be
you
your
always
recommendation. Is that what you're saying? So you only recommend it as a secondary movement?
definitely. I would recommend, say, bench press, for instance, to do um, dumbbell or barbell press. I usually alternate back and forth.
Yeah.
Um, with a push pull leg split. So once a week I'll do barbell, once a week dumbbell, and then the secondary or you know isolation movement would I would go to a Smith machine. Sometimes I'll do cable flies, stuff like that.
Right.
But just
Interesting.
like I was saying, a tool for every purpose.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, then, again, so let's just dig into the cons then. So to me, a big con of a machine is, for me personally, I think it can fool me into thinking I'm stronger than I am, right? And this is coming from someone that I resistance trained for strength, right? Someone else who's maybe using it for, I don't know, a higher rep, lower weight type of stuff. They're not really trying to push themselves as far as strength wise. They're not going to relate to me on this. But for me, it can fool me because of the things you were just mentioning before, where there's always small variance in the accuracy of the load that you're moving. If you put two plates on, you put two plates on a barbell, you got 225. Put two plates on a machine, and you kind of have around 225. You don't know exactly what you have, but you call it 225. And so in your mind, you're pressing 225, and then you begin to stack on top of that. And the reason why you can is because, once again, what you mentioned before is you're able to focus on that one singular movement. I can focus, I can black out everything and just focus on pressing the weight up with all of my might and not have to worry about any sort of balance. And that way I can move more weight up in that perfect, perpendicular plane. But you try to step under a barbell, and it's a whole different story. You'll load up the barbell with 315 or whatever and think you can press it just like you did on the machine, and you'd be sorely mistaken. So I think when it comes to the cons on a machine for me is the fact that it can fool you into thinking you can lift what you really can't, because you're not really using any accessory muscle or balance to move the weight. What do you think about that, Chris? Am I on target?
Oh, absolutely. I've met several people both online and so I was gonna turn on my ring light, but they'll be like, oh, I can press, 2 plates. I can squat 3 plates, and then turn around and find out they're talking about working out on Smith machine because they've only ever been to Planet
Right.
Fitness. And I'm like,
Right.
I hate to break it to you, bro, but I wouldn't recommend getting under 2 plates on the flat bench until you've pressed, at least 185 and maybe more.
Yeah,
But yeah,
man.
another danger though is while they can be safer at some times, they can also be more dangerous because if you get trapped under the under the machine under a heavy load, you're trapped. Like the barbell, it'll move. You can roll it
Right.
off of you or do what you need to do. But I think we saw, was it that lady? She was in Mexico and she put like crazy amount of weight and tried to squat it and it just crushed her and she was trapped
Crushed
there
her.
for what, like 10 minutes
Yep.
before somebody could get there to. And I mean, first of all, I mean that was idiotic to put that much weight on there, but still, she felt some type of way for some reason. She wanted to prove something or something, but I just stories like that. I mean, it's not like it's uncommon either. Like,
No.
they kind of make
No.
me nervous about putting a lot of weight on there, and on
No.
squats especially. I would hate to have that weight locked in place because when I'm
I
doing
agree.
squats, I know it kind of, I mean, just
Yeah.
natural body movement, and everybody's body is built differently, so that machine cannot be a one size fits all. Like
No.
everybody's gonna have a different range of motion depending on the length of their legs, the length of their torso.
Yeah.
It's not just a one size fits all on that. So I would definitely stay away from at least doing really heavy squats or something like that on the machine.
I agree.
The other machine, it's got like that slanted platform you stand on. It's got the shoulder pads. That one's
Yeah.
better because you're kind of at an angle, but and it
Right.
targets more of your hamstrings, I believe.
Yeah. Well, and if you're
But
talking
yeah,
about just pure squat, a machine does not replicate the squat well at all. I agree with you 100%. That's disastrous. I've in all my years in the gym, I've gotten under a Smith machine just to try a squat. Who hasn't really? If you've been going to the gym for an extended period of time, but it just doesn't
it is
work.
bad.
It's terrible. Now, what does work is like your hack squat machine, or leg press. Those machines are very effective. But once again, it is a machine. It keeps you in that single plane and you don't have to worry about any sort of balance. It is pure, just dumb power, right? That's what for lack of a better way to explain it, you got dumb power behind it. You close your eyes and press with all your might. When in a real world circumstance, you couldn't move that weight because you have to balance it. And there's so many other things involved with it. So that's where I think that the big pitfall is on machines. That's my number one.
I've always been irritated by the leg press because I know dudes will put like 12 wheels on there and they'll be like, "Oh, I can press this," and then they can't even squat 225.
Yeah, it's weird. It's
It's
weird.
like they come in and just work leg press all the time, almost every leg day, and I'm like, you're just wasting time. How many times in a 10-year period of time are you going to be stuck between a wall where you got to press a car off of you?
I like that.
I mean, it's just impractical. I mean,
Yeah,
I think I would do leg press maybe once a month just to see. Because if you're improving on squats, your leg press is gonna improve no matter what. And I
agreed.
was always way more focused on squats because I don't know something about doing squats because I've always had been like really skinny legs and everything, so I wanted to build my legs up.
Yeah,
But I got up to over 3 plates on squat. I thought that was pretty good,
that's pretty damn impressive,
especially
honestly. I
an
don't care who you are.
accessory to my almost 5 wheels on deadlift. But I would use the Smith machine. I could put that little platform. They have the little wooden platform that stands about 3 or 4 inches off the ground and do calf
Yeah,
raises. It's really good for that.
absolutely. Absolutely. But yeah, I mean, so the thing is once again, I think we're on the same page on this one. Machines are, they definitely have their pros, but their major con is that it fools you into thinking you can lift what you can't, like in a real world circumstance, right? I'm not saying it doesn't, that these machines don't work and they don't work to strengthen you. I absolutely get stronger using machines. I've used them countless times, and they're very effective. But I also know now what I'm doing when I use these machines. I know there's a difference in the load and what I could expect to actually carry or move in a real world circumstance. So that just draws me right into now cables, though. So let's talk about cables. We've beat up
Oh,
machines now up and down. What you got, man?
for a beginner,
Yeah.
I mean, anything's better than nothing. So if you're just sitting on your ass at the house, or you're going to go do squats with a Smith machine or whatever, if you've only got access to Planet Fitness, use the tools you have. Right? Make the best
100%.
of it, but just always keep that in mind that eventually you're going to want to get to a free weight or some type of developing those accessory muscles and stabilizer muscles because anytime you're in a real world scenario where you're having to lift a heavy weight, you got to pick something up over your head. Maybe you want to toss your kid in the air or something. You're going to want those stabilizer muscles,
100%.
especially when the
100%.
kid comes back down. It's time to catch
Exactly.
you.
Yeah. I always say,
So,
what's that old saying is it's not the fall that kills you, it's the sudden stop.
yeah.
So you want to be able to catch them.
So, one way
So,
you could help with that, I think, would be to do push ups and stuff, you know. It's better than nothing, I would think, but you're
yeah,
still not going to get that stabilizer muscle like you would if you were doing a dumbbell press or something like that.
right.
So even if you got to just lay on the couch at the house and press some cinder blocks, I would recommend figuring out a way to develop those stabilizer muscles. And that's coming from somebody who did my first year at the house as working with what I had. I got a pull up bar. I got resistance bands for a while, but the first time one snapped and hit me in the face, I threw them out.
Screw that.
And then, dude, I had my glasses on. That shit was fucked up. You know, it was one of the really heavy ones too. I mean, it just, I forget what I was doing. I think it was either curls or something. It was something, it was stupid.
It
But
always is.
eventually I found a weight bench on Marketplace with like 300 pounds worth of weights for like $50. But
Mm.
I needed that squat rack, so I had to get that gym membership.
Yeah, man. I mean, it's not always
Can't
easy
really
to
fit
build
one of
out.
those in the house. Not everybody's rich like Mike here.
Yeah, whatever, whatever. But it certainly is not easy. I would agree with you. You know, to build out a full gym that is really going to be extremely effective long term is tough to do in the house. I'm not disparaging anybody who works out in the house with hardly nothing. Like Chris was saying, you work with you use what you work, you know, or use what you have at your disposal. By any means necessary. If you want to get fit, you can do so, and you can really do it with body weight. It just anyone can even work out with just body weight. Let's be clear about that. But I just get bored with it, so I have to go do something else. So I either choose to go get a membership, which I've had in the past, or I choose to build a gym, which I have presently. But you can get the job done with body weight.
And if you're shy about going to the gym, first off, nobody there gives a shit what you're doing. I used to think that same shit, dude. I would always be like, oh, because I think first I started at the house because I didn't want to go to the gym until I could at least bench a plate, or I think work out with a plate was my goal.
Yeah,
So now when I go to the gym, I'll warm up with like the bar. I'll do like 20 reps and then I'll put like tens on and then I'll do another 15 or 20. But then it's just a plate and then I'll work up. And I started out, dude, I was working out like 65, 75 pounds. I think my bar at the house only weighed like 15 or 20. But yeah, I mean, anybody could do it, especially if I could. But
truly.
yeah, nobody cares. I mean, if
Yeah,
you're like scrawny or you're obese or something and you go to the gym, if anything, people are going to be happy that you're there. They're going to
100%.
be proud of you. So that self consciousness, it goes away, and you'll feel like
Absolutely.
you fit in there within a few weeks. But you can also get the 24-hour membership and go when nobody's there. I used to
That
do that
too.
too.
That too. I agree. Well, let's dive into cables then, Chris. Let's dive into that type of resistance. So the pro on the cable side of things. Let's let you prepared to answer that. Can you answer that, or you want me to give me my pro first?
Um, it doesn't matter. We can flip a coin.
I ain't got a coin on me, man. So listen.
I do.
So a pro for the cables. To me, oh, there you go. Well, let's flip it then. Who's gonna share? I got tails never fails. I'm going. Come on, tails never fails. Ha ha!
You
I
got
win. You
the.
share. All right, give me your pro. What's your pro on your cables? What do you like about them?
I mean, they're really good for accessory movements. You can really target, like I was saying before, to do cable flies. You know, with after doing bench press, you'll get a pump like none other in your pectorals, and
Mm-hmm.
you can even get your lower pecs if you know put the cable uh, points up high and then swing them down. But I also use them for shit. I forget what they're called when you're working your rear delts. What are these called? Face
Face
pulls.
pulls.
Yeah, that's what it is. The thing that what's his face from Athlete X was teaching people to do incorrectly. Um, I think he was teaching people to rely on them as the sole rear delt movement or something. I forget. That's the reason I found Coach Greg. I think it was one of those videos.
Gotcha.
That and his fake weights. But I really like them for the face pulls, tricep pull downs, and yeah, cable flies. But you
Yeah.
can get a
Yeah.
hellacious pump in your rear
Well,
delts doing the face pulls, as long as you're doing them correctly.
yeah,
But they're all
definitely. I
accessory
agree.
movements.
Yeah, absolutely. Cables are highly effective, and I'm gonna have to kind of piggyback on what Chris is saying. They're great for accessory work. You can also use them, just as effectively for anything isolation. It just depends on what your goals are and what you're trying to do. Thing is cable weights feel different, and the reason why they feel different is because the leverage is in a different place than like a free weight or a machine weight, even for that matter. Um, you, you are pulling on something that essentially, I'm trying to find the words to explain it, but so the
I got
handle,
you.
you pick up the handle. Go ahead.
I was going to say, so uh, assume you're doing rows, like cable rows, right?
Yeah,
So no matter where you pull that cable, the weight is always being pulled at in the same exact spot wherever that cable originates from. Whereas if
right.
you have three weights, wherever you move the weight, the gravity is going to be pulling it straight down always. So the
There
cable
you
you
go.
can move where the force is being centered towards. If that
Yep,
makes any
yep.
sense.
That makes perfect sense. You explained it much better than me. I was going to have trouble getting that out, and I wasn't going to explain it that well. But that's absolutely what it is. So I'm glad you said that. So you're right. So the thing is so in a situation where you are using cables, and I'll equate it back to like a bench press again, right? So if you are bench pressing with a barbell and you drift over to the right and you over press with your left arm and it begins to move over, well, gravity is going to be pulling it in that direction, and you're going to have a lot of trouble, and you can get yourself into a bind and create injury. If you're pushing with your cables, single hand on on each hand, and you're pushing with your cables, and one arm wants to drift out, and you go to pull it back in, you can do that with the cable, right? Because it's all pulling straight back to that same point. You're not going to lose it and drop it or anything like that. So the pro on that is that yes, you're pulling from that singular place. That resistance is coming from one singular spot, and you can adjust more easily without as much risk of injury, right? Or the weight falling on you per se. Now, granted, if you're pushing up with cable, and I'm using bench press as an example, and you let your arm drift out wide, and you can tear it, you can hurt your shoulder, arm, everything. You can mess that up. So I'm not saying you're protected and you're injury free with cable. What I'm saying is you are able to do that with this arm, and it doesn't affect the other arm. at all. It doesn't start pulling your whole body. It pulls the one arm. So you're able to correct and get back into position with the cable, as long as you know that you're lifting something you can control. So that would be my big pro on the cables. I mean, by far,
Yeah, I
it's
don't
just
get people,
the
dude. They
line
try
of
to.
resistance.
No, you're good. I didn't realize. I think I've got a lag going. I want to make sure I'm connected to 5G.
No, I think you're good. I think I was probably talking over you, honestly.
But anyway, people trying to overload the cables, dude. They're like, "Oh, let me put the whole stack on here and try to do flies." I'm like, "Okay, have fun tearing your fucking rotator cuff and shit, or dislocating your shoulder."
Right,
For me, dude,
right.
I will put 20, 30 pounds on and just rep it out because that's how you get a really good pump is high reps and low weight. Once you stop trying to prove something to everybody in the gym, that's when you start to make gains.
Yeah.
When you're always in there trying to prove something, you're just wasting time and you're going to get hurt.
Hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely. 100% agree. So,
Like the
is there
tricep,
anything else you like about the cable specifically?
just that maneuverability of where the force originates from, kind of like I was mentioning earlier, like tricep pull downs, where you're really using basically all three heads of your tricep.
Yeah.
Whereas if you move it up to about waist height and then lift the cable and do overhead,
Yeah.
really targets that longer head of your tricep.
Yep.
And I don't know about you, but I can barely get half the weight. If I'm doing a pull down, I can put well over half the stack on there and probably get 10 or 15 reps. But if I do overhead, it's more like 25, 30 pounds. Not very much at all.
Yeah.
But you can really feel it though, because you can get full extension all the way down. And that's how you
Absolutely.
really break down and make some gains because you, with that full extension. That's another thing I like about a lot of the machines is they don't allow for the full range of motion sometimes. Like you've seen me do squats, you know I go
Yeah.
full range. I don't
Yeah.
fucking stop at halfway or anything. I don't care if I got three wheels on there or one. It's the same range of motion. I did that from the very beginning for a very specific reason, is because people get used to doing half reps or three-quarter reps. And then when the time comes for them to do a full rep, it feels weird. Well,
Yeah.
for me, it feels weird to do a half rep, so
Yeah.
make sure, especially for beginners, you want to train correctly from the beginning because it's easier to learn route the first time than have to retrain. And that's another thing you got to watch with machines is you'll get used to using the machine and whatever range of motion you're using with the machine or the cables. And then when the time comes to use free weights or the time comes where all the machines are taken, all you have to use are free weights, your range of motion is going to be off. You're not going to have stabilizer muscles. Cables are better than like a locked in machine, but you still got to keep in mind while you're working against gravity, but your force is wherever that cable is originating from. So whereas if you're using free weights, everything's always trying to go down. It's always
Exactly.
being pulled towards the earth.
Yes.
But
Yes.
yeah, I mean, good cable machines are good to have, but I can't really think of a primary movement that I would use a cable machine to do. It seems when I think of the cables or any machines, really, I'm always thinking of accessory movements.
Sure. Sure. I mean, for the
But
most part, yes. Um, but I can tell you right now, I can get under, a cable and pull like hell and really tear up the biceps. And I've had an entire cable workout for buy and try before. Just, you get into a zone. I don't know about you, but you go in the gym with a plan. You know what happens to plans every time. So then the plan changes. And so I started feeling it. And I just was connected. I said, screw it. We're just going to keep running with it. And that's another thing is I think a common misconception is that you have to go into a gym and do 20 different exercises, with X amount of reps, X amount of sets. That's just not the case. It's to me, I'm always going to say that wherever your mind muscle connection is, and whatever you're interested in, and you're enjoying doing, then continue doing it. So I've gone in the gym, Chris, and got under the cable to just do warm up, like you're saying, accessory movement to get things warmed up and get the gears rolling, and then really felt it, and then just kept going, stacked on the weight, kept my reps going, and just stayed right there on the cables, bis and tris all day, and then walked home. So, I
But
mean,
that's not
wow,
really, I mean, it's a workout, but that's more of an accessory workout, right? You said bis and tris. When I'm thinking compound movements are my primary movements. I would say squat, bench press,
yeah,
deadlift, and pull ups.
yeah.
Don't skimp on pull ups, you motherfuckers. Uh, when I
Damn.
started, dude, pull ups, pull ups, and squats were my biggest enemy. So I made it a point to focus on those. I remember I could only barely get one pull up because I'm long as fuck and I had a long way to go. But I used the resistance bands and
Yeah,
because that really helps you get out of the bottom of the movement, but it makes it so it's more of a workout the further you go up because there's less resistance on the band. And now I can do pull ups. It's fucking awesome. And the same thing with squats, dude. I could probably, like when I was working at the house, I had to do lunges. I did a lot of dumbbell, weighted lunges. Sometimes I'd take the barbell outside and put it on my shoulders and then do lunges across the yard and
yeah,
sometimes squats. But no matter what I was doing, I had to lift that barbell up over my head, so I couldn't really put a lot of weight on it. But once I got in the gym, you know, I bet I started, I could do. I remember when a plate on squats felt heavy to me. There was a point I could bench press more than I could squat. I remember that.
yeah, man.
And yeah, I think my last max on squats, I got like was it 3 or 4 reps with 3 plates on there?
It
I was
was
pretty
something like
proud of
that. And then
myself.
you put out a
It's pretty
video on it,
cool.
right?
Yeah, I think I did shorts.
Yeah.
But yeah, I was just short of getting 5 wheels on deadlift too. But it's like when I think of people, when I think back to where I started, it's been what, like 4 years ago, maybe almost 5 years ago now. Oh,
Yeah.
it's 4 years ago. It'll be 4 years in December, I believe. But yeah, dude, I was so weak. And what's
Damn.
crazy is I talked to people who knew me back then, and they were like, "Man, you were all," because I grew up, working the farm. I've always been like stout, but I wasn't strong. Like
Right.
I could always lift heavy stuff off the ground, so I was always tossing square bells and lifting bags of feed and doing shit like that.
Yeah.
But I wasn't like strong. My pressing was pathetic and my squats were pathetic. But my body mechanics have always favored me being able to pick up heavy shit off the ground. That's why I'm so good at deadlifts. But yeah, dude. So I made it an idea or a point to target everything that I was weakest at. So like pull ups, basically everything that was really difficult for me, I wanted it to be easy.
Absolutely. Well, I mean but that's you have to be strong-willed for that, right? You have to be very, strong and mentally before you
I was
get
on a
strong.
mission.
Well, then and that's how you're able to pull that off. Because those things, those big, heavy, like you were talking about, the primary compound movements, those are the most difficult to lift, and those are the most intimidating whenever you think about having to stack up some real weight on there. And I'm not saying get on there for one rep max. I'm just talking about putting working weight on you. When you put a working weight barbell on your shoulder, nobody really wants to squat down, but we do it, because we're in here to put
Hate.
work in.
I
It's
still hate squats, dude, but I force myself to do them.
Yeah, man.
Pull ups, I used to hate them, but now I almost enjoy them. I guess it's just because I can do them now.
Yeah, that's
But
why.
um, yeah, the squats, dude. Like everyone's always like, "What can you bench? What can you squat?" It's like I can do this for reps. I used to care, about 1 rep maxes, but
I don't.
I want to say it was more rewarding to me whenever I could work out with a certain weight rather than
Yeah.
what I could do for 1 rep, barely, and
Right.
I'm about to shit pants. Like the 3 reps with the 3 wheels on, or 3 or 4, whatever it was on squats, I was happier with that. Maybe with deadlift, just because, oh, there's something different about deadlifts. Like you can do a 1 rep max with a deadlift and you're still getting a good workout. Because I
Yeah.
could compare
Yeah.
that to running. Like when I would do sprints, it's almost like you're doing the same kind of exhaustion to your nervous system. Like you're overloading your nervous system and extending your stamina. Whether you're doing 1 rep max on squat or deadlifts, I don't recommend 1 reps on squats. Or you're
Right.
doing sprints, like you get that same, like you're pushing the limit kind of feeling. At least I do.
Right. Yeah.
And yeah, like when I started adding in cardio, my other exercises started to improve as well. That was like every angle it improved because I had more longevity.
Right. No, it makes sense, man. That makes sense. So let's cover then the major cons of cable, so we can jump into free weights and then wrap this up because I know that we're busy today, but I want to make sure we get everything covered. So I'm talking about cons on the cable side of things, and the major con for me, since you started out on the pros, I'll take cons and start off. So the major con to me is almost the same as the pro. It's the fact that your point of resistance is not perpendicular or parallel to gravity. It can be anywhere. It can be pulling from a very odd angle, and sometimes you really can't get and adjust to where you get that perfect angle. I hate to, in a way, and the angles are just different. So unless you are, and once again, they feel far different than free weight. Um, and as Chris, you were saying earlier, gravity always pulls directly down. So when you get a free weight, you can always predict where that weight. You drop the weight. That's where the weight's going to drop. You drop the weight on a cable, you could jerk across the room. I mean, you're pulling it from a different area, and so it works differently. It feels differently. You're pulling from a different angle. You're not having that. You're not having gravity pull against you. You're having the cable that pulls against you. So in that way, you can you can get a less effective lift because you aren't really lifting against gravity. You are trusting yourself to apply the correct angle of resistance to get that movement done. And you could be employing other muscle groups and other accessory muscles to lift or pull a certain weight when you're using a cable. So that'd be my major con on the cable side of things. What do you think about that, Chris? Am I crazy, or you have something else?
No, I agree. Especially like beginner intermediates, they don't really know how to gauge it yet. So I'd recommend whatever muscle you're trying to target, you can, assuming you're standing up and facing the cable machine, you can move it, peg to peg until you feel only that muscle being engaged. So if I
Right.
were doing like what do they call them? Kickbacks or something, you're trying
Yeah.
to like just basically hitting that rear delt.
Okay.
If you've got too much weight, if you got too much weight on there, you're gonna feel your lat kick in. You're gonna feel your shoulder. You're gonna feel your traps, everything. You're gonna be like, oh, I'm trying to pull it back. Fucking take all that damn weight off, dude, and just start off with just like the first fucking weight, like 5 pounds, 10, whatever it is. Cables, I mean, they've got different amounts on it depending on which cable machine it is, but just put the first thing on there until you've got the movement correct. Because it's like I was saying
Exactly.
before, it's important to learn range of motion correctly the first time because it's very difficult to relearn it.
It is.
And then once you've targeted that correct muscle and you've got your range of motion time, then you can, put a little more on, a little more on. Like, it's like I was saying, don't be trying to prove anything to people because, yeah, you can definitely, I mean, and even you'll be trying to prove shit to yourself, you'll be like, oh, I got this. It's like, just take a second and make sure you're doing it properly. It's like I was saying, those when you stop trying to prove something, that's when you really start to make progress because then you're taking the time to make sure you're doing things properly. You're not overloading the cable or whatever and then overloading by extension yourself because you're by involving all those other muscles for that accessory movement, you're
Yeah.
basically relieving that muscle so it's not going to grow. And if it
Right.
does, all those other muscles are going to grow improperly in coordination with that same muscle that you were trying to target. So you won't even notice any difference.
Right.
And then you'll probably start looking weird because of the improper movements that you're making, trying to do an accessory movement improperly. But yeah, I
Exactly.
mean that can definitely be a con. So you just want to look out for that kind of stuff. Or definitely even intermediate people, I see them. People have been in the gym for years and they still. I don't know. It's like they got something to prove, dude. I guess I'm just too old for that shit. I don't really care.
Yeah, well, I mean, everybody has a different attitude when they go in the gym, obviously, and I've been at this so long that I don't care to impress anybody either. The thing is, even if I were going to a public gym, I'm in there to get the job done. I'm in there to get it done right. Because I'm in there and I'm trying to train for longevity and strength. I'm not just ego lifting. I'm not trying to pick up the chick in the corner on the elliptical while I'm trying to bench press in front of her or anything. So yeah, I mean, I'm not in there to impress anybody. But I mean, so those are solid pros and cons. I mean, the thing is we're not dogging any one of these resistance. We're giving you a balanced approach or a balanced opinion at them. We tell you what's good, what's bad, and what to look out for. So I think this is beneficial to, like I said in the beginning, for even a beginner all the way up to an advanced level. I think all this stuff is beneficial to hear from us. So if we move straight into free weight, Chris. So let's talk about free. That's my personal favorite. So the pro for free weight to me is that you are only fighting gravity, and every time you move the weight, you have to balance it. You have to really think of what you're doing, and if you are not paying attention, if you don't have great form, you will find out. You will eventually get injured. And I'm not going to say the first time you walk in, you're going to just throw your back out, although you can if you mess around on the deadlift and do it wrong. But what I'm saying is over time, you will learn either the hard way or the easy way. If you want to listen to somebody trying to give you the correct form, you will learn if you're doing it incorrectly. I like it because it's real life. I'm lifting it, I'm putting it down, I'm using every other balancing accessory muscle I need to get the weight moved and moved properly. That's my pro. What do you think, Chris?
Yeah, I agree. A lot of people hate on free weights and I'm like, oh, that's the old school way. And it's like, not really. Have you seen some of the machines they used to use? I mean, yeah, the barbell's kind of old school, but it's tried and true. It's
Absolutely.
one of the few things that have actually remained after all this time of
Yeah.
people doing the strongman competition. I mean, they used to have some ridiculous machines and other accessory kind of workouts that they would do back in the 50s and earlier. But yeah, I mean, another pro, it's you can do both compound and accessory movements with dumbbells.
That's a great
So
point.
if you don't have cables and you're trying to hit rear delts, just get some lighter dumbbells and just lean over, and you can do rear. I don't know. Some people call them like rear delt flies. Some people, what's the other name they call them?
I
I
mean, I,
forget.
I can bend over and keep my elbows straight and not bent, and I call those kickbacks, and that hits the rear
Yeah,
delt.
so that's the kickbacks. I thought there was another.
Yeah.
I can't remember. It doesn't matter. It's the same movement. But
Yeah.
yeah, a lot of people, and they'll do the same thing, dude. People will be trying to get 30s and 40s and do those with them. It's like you're trying to hit one head of your deltoid.
One tiny little
Just
head.
get, 15s, 20s, you know, and even like a super big guy, 25 at the most, you know, because you're trying to get more reps. That's how hypertrophy is achieved, is through higher reps, you know.
Right.
So strength is important, but when it comes to those accessory movements, you want to focus more on form and range of motion, obviously, and how many reps you're getting, and just
Absolutely.
focusing on that muscle. But yeah, you can do basically all kinds of movements. There's hundreds with free weights, and you can do, you know, like I was saying before, just a pair of dumbbells, dude. You can do a full body workout. You can do like weighted lunges for legs. You can hold the dumbbells and do calf raises. Get on a step or something, and you can get full range of motion, full extension on your calf raises. Um, you can do shoulder press, dumbbell press. You can do
Hmm.
heavy ass rows. I remember when I was working out at the house, my dumbbells weren't heavy enough, so I would stack them like cross on top of each other, and I would
Yeah.
lift two to
Dude,
do
you're
my
crazy.
my rows.
You,
But
you
it
like you
worked.
like one of them crazy TikTok fitness influencers doing that stupid
I
shit.
don't know. I was just trying to be practical. But yeah, it's like you were saying, like the direction the weight's going to fall is always going to be down. You know, it's
Always.
you're always trying to grab, and that can be a pro and a con.
Absolutely, it can. Absolutely, it's a major con when you're under a bench press or you're under a barbell squat, and that's why I said you got to pay attention. It is to me a free weight using the free weights in many regards is more advanced because you are allowed freedom. Free weights give you freedom to make all the mistakes in the world, and because if you can't balance it, and if you cannot lift it, and if you go down on that squat and you can't get it back up, you better have a spotter because that gravity's not going to quit pushing down and you're going to be in trouble. So,
Better
that
know how to
that's
jump
great.
out from under it.
Yeah. I
No,
mean,
I've
so
never done
it
that.
gets dangerous.
I've never failed on a squat because I've never tried to do something that I wasn't sure if I could get it or not.
Well, when it comes to squat, no, I've never allowed myself to fail on a squat. Never have I ever done that. If I have an inkling in the back of my mind that I'm not going to be able to get back up, I just rack it up and get out from
Yeah,
underneath. It's not worth it.
that's like because I would usually work out with like, I mean, I would always work my way up on squats. Like I'd start with a plate, and then I'd put 225s on, and then I would swap those out for another plate, and then I'd work my way up. That day I did the 275 for however many, and then the three plates.
Yeah.
That fourth, or I remember the last rep, I was like, hmm.
Yeah.
I think my legs were shaking a little bit, and I just went ahead and I was like, fuck it. And I did it, dude. And
Wow.
some people will, you know, they don't like that. They'll be like, well, you don't know what your limits are until you push them, kind of thing. But I'm like, well, I'll do that with deadlifts, you know. I'm not doing it with this fucking barbell on my back that's twice my weight.
No, no. Like I'm not going to do that with overhead press with a barbell. I'm not going to
Oh,
do that.
fuck.
That's crazy. I'm not going to do it with, barbell squat. Those
I
movements,
mean, dumbbells you can, but barbell, no, sir. And my,
well,
my chiropractor actually told me that dumbbells are kind of better for overhead press
yeah,
because it allows that freedom for
it
your
does.
hands to rotate, you
Yeah.
know? So
No, I agree with
that's
that.
another
It does
pro.
feel better. I mean, it feels better. And in some regards, it's can be safer, but it's also in some regards it's more dangerous. You've got the isolation of you're having to deal with balance of two arms now. I know you're having to do that with a barbell. I mean, you could get out of balance, but essentially you're pressing up with both arms. You got the barbell across you. When you have the weight is separate and they are not connected in the middle, it can get really dangerous if you overload. So in some regards, it's easier because you get up overhead, and if you want to drop them, you can just drop it, and you can't do that with a barbell. But at the same time, you have that imbalance, and you can mess around and get injured if you're not paying attention. So that's why I say again, that's I guess it leads right into the cons. It's like free weight to me, it's more of an advanced resistance training because you have so much freedom. If you don't do it appropriately, you're at severe risk for an injury. I mean, you can get injured in any one of these other resistances. You can get injured with cable, you get injured with machines. But for the most part, what you end up seeing is injury. If you've ever seen any videos or anything, it's always people with free weights, jacking around with free weights. You can crush yourself under those things. They're
But
dangerous.
that lady that got killed in Mexico, she got crushed under that damn Smith machine.
Yeah,
That
I
was
mean
awful to watch. Did I send it to you? I thought I sent it to you. It's been a
oh
while
yeah,
back.
it's terrible. You know, when you overload and you're not paying attention and you make a silly mistake, it can go bad wrong. Especially when you got a bar and you're working with a bar right over your neck or your chest and you're working against gravity straight up and down parallel or perpendicular to your body rather. You
I
don't
just want
really
to know
get
what
good
the hell.
situation.
Like, what
It's
was
over.
she thinking, dude?
I
She
don't
was
know.
tiny little thing. She was
I don't
probably like
know. I
what,
mean,
7 foot?
they
But
were
like,
hyping each other up, obviously, and then they
it
got
was her
into there.
daughter with her.
They were ego lifting, and I don't know why they would do that.
I mean, but I don't know. I didn't see like leading up to it if she had put more weight on before and successfully lifted it, or if she just walked in there and put
Right.
6 wheels on that fucking thing and tried to lift it.
Just
I
went
don't
in
remember if
cold.
it was like 5 or 6, but I know that it was loaded so far out you couldn't see the metal on the bar anymore. Like, I don't
Anyway.
know. It's ridiculous. But yeah,
And
the pros and the cons of the free weight. So like you were saying with shoulder press, how it's a lot easier to focus on a singular balance point
yes.
than if you just take them, break them in half, basically.
Yeah.
So that's why, like you were saying, it's more of a advanced. I would say, yeah, if you're not, if you're a beginner that went to Planet Fitness basically, and all you know is fucking machines and cables, because
Right.
um, say that you worked out at Planet Fitness for a year and you think you're strong, and then you go into a lack of a better word, a real gym, and then you're faced with free weights for the first time. It's gonna almost be like starting over because you have to develop that balance again.
Right.
But I still wouldn't like call them a beginner because I mean they've still got that uh, core strength. I would say. I mean, ideally, you got some kind of strength after a
Yeah.
year, but developing the balance though is definitely nothing. Um, what would you call it? Nothing entry level about it. Like once you
No.
develop that balance, um, like the challenge can be a good thing. While it does make it more of a challenge to keep those two balanced. Once you've developed that though, you know, you see those old heads in the gym and they'll get those fucking like 75s, 80s, and they'll just have them locked in place right there. They don't fucking
Right.
twitch or anything.
It's
So
insane.
once you get that balance though, I mean, it's hard to take away from it. And it comes in handy with all your other workouts
Yes.
because you'll never get under a cable or a machine and I mean, not, you'll never wobble and
Right.
you can do like the dumbbells are cross compatible with the other machine, but the machine's not cross compatible with the dumbbells.
No, they're not.
Like you
Agreed.
see what I mean?
Yeah, absolutely.
But I can actually do better with dumbbells on shoulder presses, the one, than I can with the barbell because I told you about my shoulder problems. Like
Yeah.
once I get to about right here with the barbell, it starts to feel like somebody's sticking a knife in my shoulder. So actually on my shoulder press is better for me to do dumbbells.
Dang. No, I mean, I'm with you. I enjoy the dumbbell shoulder press more. I do the barbell ever so often, but I've even started kind of moving away from that completely. I've found I haven't done it in a while. I'm trying to think back, and it's not there in my recent memory.
The hands being locked like this is what my chiropractor was saying. He said it's not really a natural type
It's
of
not.
way to be lifting. So normally, if you're lifting, your hands are kind of at an angle, just at a little bit,
Yeah,
you know, like
you're just kind of lifting up.
whereas here's the barbell, you're like right here. Like not all the
Right.
way over here, but you're like just sliding. Like that's where you're naturally at. So if you're using the dumbbells, it's a lot
Yep.
easier to go up
Agreed.
and it feels more
Agreed.
natural.
I agree. I agree 100%. So yeah, I mean that's that's why I like my free weights, man. I'm telling you, I enjoy them. They're predictable. I know exactly where they're going to go. If I can't lift it, I know where they're going to go. I don't put myself into precarious situations where I'm underneath something that I can't lift. And if I do want to overload, I always set my safeties to where it's this I go to my full range and all I got to do is just drop it about an inch, boom, and I hit my safeties and I'm done, right? But otherwise, you got to be really, really, really careful with the free weights. But they're very rewarding, and you get all your accessory stuff in there. You get all your balance in there, as you were talking about, Chris. So I think that to me, that's why it outshines every other resistance type. That's for me. That's why it's my favorite. But guys, I don't know about y'all. Anybody who's watching
Right
the
and
playback
true.
live, but like I say, take all of this information, heck, with a grain of salt. I mean, it's just Chris and I giving our opinions on lifting for over, I don't know, 25, 30 years combined that I know of. I know Chris has been at it, what, for well over 5 years now. Yeah.
Almost four. I
Okay.
mean,
Well, getting
as
close to
of
five
as
anyway.
of recent, I lifted in school, and then I lifted. There was a few points throughout my 20s that I picked up some weights for a while, but um,
Um,
since I learned I was going to have a kid, basically, it was in December of 2017, I think.
yeah.
Yeah, it's hard to keep up, but yeah, I mean, just a lot of things to look out for. You know, like you've almost forgotten what it's like to be a beginner because you've been at it for so long.
You
I
know,
still remember.
it's funny, but it's kind of true. I can think back when I was a beginner. I can, but I don't remember I don't remember it vividly. I don't recall. It's hard to recall having little to no knowledge about lifting, I should say. I can remember when I was a beginner, but I don't know what it feels like to not have a lick of knowledge when I walk into a gym. And I don't think I know it all right now. And that's the thing about where I am now in my whole fitness journey is you go through stages, and you when you get to the stage where you think you know everything, that's the worst stage to be in. And then that's whenever you get humbled a whole lot, and then you start realizing how little you know, and so then you start imparting your knowledge on other people and helping people kind of get through those things, because nobody knows everything. Nobody's the best. Nobody's the premium expert. We all kind of know a whole lot, and if we all just as a community stick together and bounce things off each other, I think we become more successful, and that's what we're here trying to do today.
That's what got me about that damn doctor that we did that show on. Like,
Oh man, he was
oh,
insufferable.
dude, you fucking egg-headed motherfucker, you don't know shit, okay? And then
He's
he's like,
insufferable.
oh, what was he called? He said something pissant show or something. I was like, dude, you won't even come discuss anything with us. So
Yeah,
what does that say about you, huh?
that's exactly right.
And then, yeah, he's like trying to say that's like teenage shit, dude. I
It
always
is.
tell people, yeah, I remember when I knew everything too,
Yeah,
and then I
yeah,
grew up. You know,
exactly.
fucking hell, dude. That's what gets me about all these left wing idiots is they're always trying to act like they know everything. Everybody else is just dumb. It's like, yeah, 75% of y'all will grow up one day, but you ain't there
Hopefully.
yet.
Hopefully, that I can only hope anyway.
I mean,
But
look how many, like, especially the activist types, like almost all of them are college age. It's like, yeah, that's the prime time to know everything.
well, they're in the know-it-all stage. That's what I'm saying. That's what I was saying back, talking about my whole fitness career. It's like you get to a point where you think you know it all, and then really you just look like a dumbass. Like you don't know anything. You know quite a bit. You've accumulated some knowledge, and then you get to the point where you know it all, and then you start getting humbled. So what I'm hoping is that not talking about the gym now, but talking about these people. I hope they can get humbled and one day actually grow up and realize they don't know it all. Nobody has all the answers. Nobody's perfect. And this then translates into the gym. Nobody knows it all. Nobody's perfect. We're just here bouncing ideas off each other and trying to make each other better. That's exactly what Cris and I are here to do. Period. End of story. We will not bullshit anybody.
That's another thing that gets me about them going back on people's social media and finding mistakes they've made. It's like, oh yeah, so you've never made a mistake, motherfucker? Like, shut the fuck up. Now we have to raise our kids to know that once they hit post or share, that's basically for life. They're responsible
Right.
for it for the rest of their life.
Yeah.
That's just shitty, dude. I wouldn't hold anybody to account. I mean, unless it's something obviously worth holding them accountable for anything they put, even fucking days ago, dude. I mean, I post shit and I'm like, oh, that was kind of dumb. But yeah, I found that gym uh, discipline and kind of rhetoric, I guess, for lack of a better word, is it translates into life. So where you were saying, you were in the know-it-all stage, and then you kind of learned. I remember, dude. I was telling you, I was like, I worked out, in school, and then I worked out and a few other times, and coming back into it, it was like I didn't know shit. I never really learned about calories. I mean, I knew about calories, never really worried about them. All I knew was to eat a bunch of protein, drink protein
Right.
shakes. And I'd made decent gains before, especially when I was getting ready to go into the military before my mom died. I'd made some gains, but um, until recently, dude, it's like it's a whole new playing field. It's like I didn't know anything before.
Right.
So yeah, I guess we're gonna have to wrap it up because I'm gonna get to this point. But if you haven't checked these out, dude, have you tried these?
I have, dude. Dude, they're the
Bro,
bomb. Yeah.
bro, look, 130 calories, dude. And there's like
I
30
know,
of them
dude.
in a serving. 18 in a serving. It like the different flavors have different amounts per serving. But yeah, 130 calories. These are
Right.
an amazing snack. The kids love them. Yeah, fantastic. They got all kinds of flavors too. But yeah, y'all go try those. They're
Dude.
expensive, but they're worth it.
Yeah, man. See, on our streams, you learn multiple things. So, guys, we're gonna wrap up here because we both got to run, and I know everybody else is busy as well. You have busy lives. You ready to run out of here too? Go ahead.
That shit I told you though, wasn't it Coach Greg? I said it was time to call him out. I sent you a
Yeah, yeah,
video.
yeah,
Or
yeah,
was it somebody else? I said we're gonna call him out on my channel. Anyway, 2 weeks
yeah.
we'll be doing that. So y'all strap in.
Yep. Yeah.
We're
Strap
calling
in.
out
We're
one
gonna
of
be
the
ready,
big
guys.
dogs.
Two
Was
weeks.
it
We'll be
Crowder?
on
Oh,
Chris's
it was
channel.
Crowder trying to talk about steroids. Yeah.
That's
I
what it
love you,
was.
Crowder. I love you, Crowder, but you need to shut the fuck up about shit you don't know about, dude.
Yeah.
You're
So
my
it's gonna be
boy,
in 2 weeks.
Blue. Y'all have a good one. I'll
2 weeks.
text you, Mike.
2 weeks, man. Thanks a lot, guys. Y'all have a good one. Catch you on the next one.